All right, good evening. My name is Travis, and this is Oscar Mike Radio. You can see the Oscar Mike Radio logo on my headphones there, and you might be asking yourself why we're here. What is going on a Sunday night like this? And the deal is, I'm doing a very special live cast, something that we can all get behind. And why is that? Because immediately I got a lot of feedback saying, hey, this isn't military. This isn't about veterans. Why are you doing this? And as you'll see as we go through this and have this conversation, it's kind of funny. There's some battles that people are fighting every day that never see the light of day. No one ever finds out about it. And it was I don't know how to describe it. One of my listeners and people that I've done veterans outreach with in Brockton approached me about this thing that was going on, and this family had this issue at a local skating rink, and I got asked to come and talk to them, and they sort of graciously allowed me to come into their home this Sunday night and talk with them. So on this live cast, I have from right to left, I have Brittany, Chase, the main man, and Donnie. Welcome to the show. We have somebody checking in. Thank you very much. Please share and share alike. So, guys, what happened briefly was I understand at a skating rink, something happened with Chase where he was asked to leave. But Chase isn't like, Chase has a different kind of thing going on in his life that you have to allow for. Do you want to tell me what that is? Because I'm trying to understand the whole situation here.
Sure. So Chase has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and what that is the weakening of his muscles. It generally starts from the legs and works its way up. And a skating rink we had been to many times for a birthday party. He usually uses a skate assist there. And that's something that he can walk with and kind of just feel like he's skating with his buddies. And this particular night, we spoke to the employees and the owner, and we were told that unless he was in skates or we had something with wheels, he was not allowed to go on the rink. There was a little bit, more to the situation where it just wasn't said nicely. There were no other options given for him. And I didn't have his wheelchair with us at the time because he is still ambulatory. And I don't think that he would use his wheelchair in front of his friends.
Sure.
So basically he was told he could, he didn't have to leave. He just wasn't allowed on the rink at all. And of course, Mr. Defiant over here walked on the rink, and the employee went right over to the microphone on the loudspeaker and said, the rules are nobody walks on the rink and everybody skates the same direction. And she put the microphone down and took my son off the floor, at which time I started to take pictures of the parents who were on the rink with their sneakers and their children walking around. And that's all that we were asking for Chase to do. And
no, I've been to that rink before with my children, and there's kids, parents, grandmas, grandpas walking around the rink with shoes on, bare feet, socks on. So it was kind of surprising that they took this hard line with your son.
Yeah. It was definitely something that was not expected. I felt was completely out of line and was singling him out. And to me, life is just so precious, especially for him, that I was heartbroken for him.
So educate me here about Chase's condition, because I'm learning about it and I do not understand all the ins and outs, but it's a kind of muscular dystrophy. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Dystrophy, if I understand correctly.
Yep. So it's called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It happens to about 1 in every 3,500 boys. It does happen in girls, but it's very unlikely because what happens is it's a mutation of the X chromosome, which are women carriers. So, it doesn't provide him with the dystrophin for his muscles to constantly repair themselves. So like I said, it's weakening of the muscles. That doesn't just include the calf muscles. He has enlarged calf muscles. It doesn't just mean hips and arms and stuff like that. It also means heart and lungs and kidneys and your brain is a muscle. Eventually, in due time, all those get hurt.
That was my understanding. Is there is a conclusion to this?
Yes.
And I have to really, thinking about this as a father and parent myself, when I read that, understood what we're talking about here is every moment has to be precious for you both. Was that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, as we understood, it had told us an expectancy of about 20 years old was, for average boys to live with this.
And this affects primarily boys.
Yes. Yep. Because usually if it happens with girls, they have two X chromosomes. So usually the one that's mutated, the other one can take over and give the X chromosome what it's lacking. But sometimes it doesn't, and girls can end up with this. It's just so unlikely. Whereas in boys, it's a very common disease,
Really?
Yeah. We have a couple friends in this area, a friend of mine who has twin boys with it, a friend Marshfield. We've all become a community, and it's awesome.
Now, are we talking about the same guy?
Mark. Yep.
Yes, Mark. I've met Mark. I've known him for quite some time. I've met his sons, and it's.
And they're doing great, and
right.
They're older. So that, there's that hope. You know what I mean? That is our hope, is that Chase does as great as they're doing, and then there's that fear of an 11-year-old we lost today.
Wow.
So there's that fear.
Is there any kind of support group or resources locally to help people with this?
I don't think we're really familiar with that too much, just because our group of people have always been through the Jet Foundation.
Right. I heard about them.
Yes.
Yes.
So Christine McSherry is fantastic, and all the parents that and Mark has his Wheelchair Strong Foundation, and it's usually the same parents there. That's kind of our support system. Our friends from Marshfield with their son Joey have walked us through so much of the things that we had no idea about. But I know that we do the muscle walk, and I know on I think it was my birthday or Chase's birthday, we tried to put on Facebook to if anybody maybe it wasn't our birthday, something about raising money for the Jet Foundation. But those foundations are really great because there's so much money that the MDA does go for research, and there's many resources to fund the money for research. But in the meantime, while there's no cure and there's only clinical trials going on, there's really no treatment other than daily steroids to try and keep his muscles strong. Those foundations give to families, right? Because having a child that has those special needs, it's financially straining, it's emotionally straining, and they try and relieve some of that for the families. They're amazing.
Well, I mean, again, as a parent myself, who's never gone through something like this, you have the one aspect that's always hanging over you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're watching the decline, and it has to. I'm going to ask you, Don, what's that been like, or what's that been like for you to try to understand, help, and support?
It's been a challenge, just because, like you said, there are a lot of things that go on a day-to-day basis. Things that we have to do that people have no idea about. It starts first thing in the morning with medications and vitamins, and throughout the day we need to figure out what we have planned and what accommodations need to be made. And a good example of that is we went on a trip with the Cub Scouts last summer, and it was all outdoorsy things, hiking and fishing and all that, and I had to go down there with him every day just to make sure that he could get around. And it's little things like that where parents will just send their kids off and, all right, 9:00 in the morning, drop off, pick them up at 2 in the afternoon. And they don't see like all the extra planning and all the, preparation that needs to take place. I mean, we take him to physical therapy twice a week, once on land, once in a pool.
Stretching daily.
Yep, stretching daily at night. He has special braces that he fights us on, but he wears most every night to bed, that are, designed to stretch his legs and keep his muscles stretched out as best they can. But it's also just tough because, you look at the kids that he interacts with, and something as simple as, walking up the flight of stairs, or, like he plays baseball, and he's excited for a walk, you know what I mean? Gets to go to first base, and make it all around. He scored a couple runs this year.
Oh, wow.
But, you have these parents
it was such a good player, but I mean, how did he not pick up the ball right when we were just running? Like, who does that?
Well, he was so impressed by your awesomeness. I'm going to tell you, folks, I'm setting up my equipment tonight to do this podcast, or live cast rather, and Chase is all over it. He understands what all my stuff does. He's giving me pointers and tips. It's just a great time with this. He's not a little guy. I'm not calling him a little guy. It was great earlier. So, Chase, they were so impressed by your awesomeness, dude. They just couldn't get the ball up in time. That's all.
And so just to finish that thought, it's like, and it's nothing against any of the other parents, you know what I mean? Like, they don't understand, and we don't expect them to, because before all this, we wouldn't have understood. But, they'd get upset if their kid only got a double that day, or if he only pitched for 2 innings and then they switched the pitcher, and it's like, we're just praying for a walk up there, you know what I mean? We're just happy that he's involved and that he's doing it, and the outcome doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the things that this whole situation with the skating rink, why it was so frustrating in the first place, is because we just want him to be treated like a normal kid. He does all the things that all his friends do, and he does them to the best of his ability. And we don't ask for special treatment. We don't ask for, a super small strike zone or a charity walk all the time, or, you know what I mean? We want him to be a normal kid and experience all those things. And the way it was portrayed by some people was that we were, looking for this special treatment, and that,
Well, that's the thing. Really briefly, is going to the skating rink myself. There's all kinds of people there's adults using those special skaters. It's no problem. They're walking out onto the rink with shoes on, boots on. It's never a problem. And it's not like you said that I got the impression that you had a big, huge sign saying Chase is here. It seemed like you all want him to enjoy this time with his friends.
Right.
For the reasons we talked about. These are precious moments with this great little kid, and some of that was lost. And I'm hoping that this live cast will allow people to see, what great parents you are, and that you're just trying to advocate for your son.
And that's really all it was. And it's trying to advocate for other kids too, or other people, so that this just doesn't continue to happen. Because as much as Chase's muscles are different than, I guess, whatever the normal is, like, he's still very much, a human being, and he has his own thoughts, and he's his own person, and he's funny. And
oh my God, he's funny. He's bagging on me about Fortnite. Hey, so Chase, look at me for a second. You got any Fortnite tips for us, real quick? A lot of people want to know.
Always build.
Oh, wait.
Now wait a minute. I can't build. That's my problem. I can't build.
So tell him how to build.
How do I build?
I don't know what console you have, so I don't know.
I have an Xbox One.
Oh, so do you. So it's right in your wheelhouse.
So I'm trying to build. Right? I'm trying to build. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to build. I'm trying to fight.
To get to the building thing, you click B.
Oh.
Then you see the thing out all the way to the top. Well, it's like in front of it,
You see these mitts?
You can push it down.
You see these hands? They don't work the controller that well. I'm going to have to get a different controller. It probably fits your hands really well.
Even though I threw it around already.
Yeah, we have a Smash
Sometimes
controller.
you get a little too worked up playing it. That's for certain.
So this happens. I was curious, Brittany, did you ever think that the community would really come and put their arms around you and say, hey, we're here for you, the way they have? Because the once people found out about this, there was all kinds of noise made in a good way. And then when people found out that we were doing this tonight, it was like, make sure you share this. I wanna see this. What was that like for you both?
It was an amazing feeling. Originally, I had just shared my post to I belong to a group on Facebook called DMD Moms.
Oh,
It's
DMD
a
Moms.
private group for mothers of children with Duchenne's. And I really just needed to vent. I was really just so angry that like my child was treated the way he was, and that he has no control over any of this. He has no control over this disease. He has no control over it's hard for him to stick up for himself. So I shared it to my post, and I was still just so angry about it. I was still so upset. I was hurt that I posted it on the town page that I lived in, that we live in, and I posted it to my Facebook. And I was really just kind of more bringing awareness, like, hey, this was really messed up, and I really hope like you guys are aware this is what happened, and that you guys stick up for yourselves if you go there and you're treated like this. And the love and support that we got from our whole community, I would have never expected it. Like, Whitman is a great town. I love it. It was put on the Hanson Connection. They were super supportive of it. And really, like, what had happened was people just kept sharing it until, people were put in touch with us to bring more awareness. And not even just so much about that one incident. It really, to me, is what, like, Duchenne is doing to these children,
Yeah, because I knew about muscular dystrophy. I had no idea about Duchenne's at all. And I had met Mark's kids, but still it's been a while, so I hadn't really put the two and two together.
Right.
I just hadn't. And then when I saw it and got on the website, on Duchenne's website, I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. What was at stake here, and why it was so important to you both to advocate this way. Well, advocate's not really the right word I want to use. My podcast, my live stuff is about people's battles. And I really feel that a lot of times in local, by yourself, in the world, there's people that, when something bad happens, they don't say anything. They don't do anything. And you guys could have just gone home, kept it to yourselves, took it on the chin, and not said anything. But now awareness has been raised. People have been educated, and there's support there. And isn't that what this is all about?
It is. I think my big thing is I didn't want people to feel like I know that this is our life. This isn't everybody's life. And I don't look for sympathy or anything like that. Really, it's just more, understanding and letting people know, like, that day, that was just another thing on the list that Chase couldn't do, and that day, it just broke my heart because it was one thing that Duchenne's didn't take from him. Duchenne's didn't take that birthday party and hanging out with his friends from him because he could very much do that. That is one of the few things he has left to do with his friends. Somebody else made the choice to be fully. I told them everything from A to B on the phone, exactly what Duchenne's is, and somebody still made that choice to just be hurtful, and I think that's more of why I was so upset and I wanted to advocate for this because so many people just think, oh, okay, like it's just his muscles and he can't walk right and he can't run and it's so much more to this. It's too precious.
It's very much more. I mean, I'm going to tell everybody on this live cast and whoever sees it in the future to look it up and understand what Brittany's talking about because there's a lot more here. Sometimes when I'm playing Fortnite and the kids are messing me around or I'm telling them to clean up, I'm just like, just get it done. I don't think about the fact that it could be a different reality.
Right.
And when we started talking, Brittany, that's what came to the fore, is that this is a different reality. This is a different way to do things.
So again, he wants to go watch YouTube.
Hey, YouTube is important, folks. The channels, the guy's got to have their subscribers. I get it. And again, he's just a great kid. We're putting the stuff, and he's getting it, and he's like, I want that, and let's move the tripod over. I just loved it. I really loved getting to interact with him, and that's the thing that was missed. But again, not to hammer it home, it is there's an end coming, isn't there?
Yes. Eventually, if no cure is found, I mean, we don't know how long he has. We don't know when this disease will finally take him. And I think that's like the most heartbreaking thing to all this is that, you hope for the best. And in my eyes, I kept telling myself, like, when he was diagnosed at almost 7 years old, it was July 2016. So he was a month shy from being 7. I kept telling myself, it's okay. We have time. And the one thing I didn't know about Duchenne's is, like, we don't have time.
No.
That just because it said life expectancy is until 20s doesn't mean necessarily that's how long he's going to have. I hear every day about children passing away. And then I try and bring myself back to hope that I know older, men now with Duchenne's. And I try and tell myself, like, that's where we're hoping to be. But sometimes that hope is crushed and it hurts. And today I had to share a post about an 11-year-old passing away from it. Last week it was a 13-year-old boy that had a sudden heart attack and passed away because Duchenne's affects your heart. These are moments. Something as small as just skating with his friends is such a special moment to him because nobody is guaranteed all these moments by any means. We don't know what tomorrow brings, any of us. But Chase walks around with a death sentence every day, and that's truly what Duchenne's is to me. It's a death sentence. And I have taken every day with him since we found out his diagnosis that I just want to make the best of it. And it's not always good days. And I yell at him like crazy.
So for people there, it's my understanding there's stages of Duchenne's, right?
Yes.
And so some kids couldn't even get on the skating rink and skates. It would be a very bad idea for them to even do that. Mm-hmm. So am I understanding correctly that he's not at that stage yet, but eventually he's not going to be able to do those things?
He's never been able to skate. His gait, the way he walks, his body, the way his muscles are, like, it just doesn't allow him to.
Right,
he can't get that balance. But what he can do is walk, and some boys can't. Some boys, it all depends on the deletion of the chromosome, of the exons, I'm sorry. Like, so Chase has chapters 8 to 29 deleted. I don't know much about that deletion, to be honest with you. I just know that we are blessed because he's doing better than some of the other kids who are just missing one specific, deletion, and they aren't able to walk and do so many things. So
I'm just going to say this again. Every moment is precious to you both.
Absolutely.
There's not like, we'll come back next weekend and get it, because there could not be a next weekend. Mm-hmm. And maybe there will be.
Maybe there will be, and
but based on what you're telling me, there couldn't. There's a very real possibility that's not happening, right?
And that also creates a very difficult dynamic for us as parents, because we're still raising him. We want him to be a good, respectful person. We want him to listen. We want him to have rules and all these things. When you got here, you heard his Xbox is taken away because he had an attitude today, and some of that's from the steroids. He's got constant roid rage. Other, the disease itself comes with behavioral,
really?
problems. And so, again, it doubles back to that. It's all that hidden stuff behind closed doors that people have no idea about. That for us, it's just like, one more thing and one more thing, and we do it, and we get through every day, and we're tired, and everything, but it's another thing that is very difficult for us to find balance with, especially where we have a younger son who does not have it.
Oh, that must be tough.
So we're walking this tightrope of trying to parent Chase one way, parent Cameron, trying to keep them on level ground, knowing that they're not. And it's another thing to stress about and to figure out and to fight about sometimes. You know what I mean? We fight a lot about parenting styles, and I get her point and she gets my points. And sometimes we just butt heads about the littlest thing. You know what I mean? Like 5 minutes of good behavior, like I said to you, and he's earning things back. And I'm like, no. And it's tough. It's very tough.
Well, it's got to be challenging, to say the least. And I walk in your home and set up, and he's such an inquisitive, great little kid. Just a real pleasure. And he's checking out all my stuff out and asking questions. And I'm like, wow, it just takes me back that, with our children and people in general, man, that's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. And which leads me to the kind of what I want to, talk about next is, why is it so important for people with kids with disabilities, or people in general, to advocate and speak up when this stuff happens? I mean, some people are like, well, it's just naturally do it, but a lot of people probably wouldn't do what you all did. Or they just say, you know what, it's just a bad thing, no big deal, we'll let it slide. Why is it important not to let things like this slide?
Because it's not right. And you know what's funny is I was going to do the same thing. I was going to just vent it out on my mom's group, and that was going to be that. And I realized that wasn't enough, because kids are going to. After I Googled the owner's name and found out that there was more to this than just my Chase, that's when I knew I had to speak out, because this couldn't continue anymore. I felt like one, this person messed with the wrong mom, and two, that children especially, they don't ask for any, they ask to be born and just kind of be like their friends, and I guess whatever the normal is, and Chase isn't, and there are so many kids that aren't normal that don't have a voice, and they need a voice, and they need to be treated fairly. And kids that are getting teased at school because of their disability. I mean, we dealt with that with Chase last year. There was one little boy that was just horrible to him, or kids that will push him from the back and tell him to hurry up because he walks slow. Like, I had said so many times, like, Chase, just let it go. That's on them. And so many times I have swept things under the rug, or just called the school to make them aware, hey, this boy pushed him. Please tell them to keep their hands off of him. And this was just it for me. He's getting older. We know things are progressing. We watch the decline of him every single day.
And he sees it too. That's what's tough, is he's a very bright kid.
Oh, most definitely.
And he knows about the disease. He sees the other families we interact with, and he's a very tough kid. So you ask him how he's doing. He's great. Everything's fine. Everything's good. He'll break down to us and tell us, how things really are, and how unhappy he is with his life, and how, it's heartbreaking, and he really is a warrior, for putting on that brave face. I mean, for a kid to just suck it up and just put a smile on and go out the door every day when we know he's hurting inside, it's tough to watch.
So these kinds of events with friends, playing Xbox with his friends, even though he might have to earn it back hard, is really important to you all. It's a ray of sunshine.
It's important to him too, because
Right.
He wants to fit in. He
Absolutely.
just wants to be one of the guys. He doesn't want to be special Chase that everyone needs to be nice to. Like, he wants his friends. If he doesn't like someone, he'll tell him he doesn't like him. And he really is just a normal boy that was just dealt a different hand than everyone, than a lot of other people.
What a lot of people don't see is that he, at least once a week, cries himself to sleep asking me, like, when is muscular dystrophy going to go away? Or he'll tell me while we're getting, because I still have to dress him at 9 years old. He can't stand, up to put pants on for himself. He'll tell me I'm fat and I'm short and I'm so much different than all my friends. And yes, he's small. He looks I mean, our 7-year-old is taller than him, you know. So not only does he feel different on the inside, like the world can see him as different. So it's just it's tough. It's really tough.
So I like to say that no one fights alone. When I'm talking to people who are experiencing challenges from their service or other types of issues, I like to say that no one fights alone. You touched on it earlier, but is there support for people like yourself with this going on in their lives?
There are so many parents around us, and I know, like I said, with my mom's group on Facebook, there's so much that I can talk about to them that I can't talk about to normal people. They don't get it, you know. And the families that we get to go to events with and stuff like that, like that's when we're laughing the most, because we can make these weird jokes that nobody else would understand, or tell them about this stuff that just happened, and they get us, you know, they understand,
and it's great too, because they're all so accepting. They don't judge. I mean, everybody is taking us under their wing. Mm-hmm. We're a lot younger than a lot of the other couples. Chase is younger than most of the boys, if not all of them, mm-hmm. that we know through them. So it's like we kind of have them to turn to for, like, you know, hey, what's coming up next? Hey, what's our next move? What should we expect? You know, and that's something that goes a long way, because we're not just walking through the dark with this. I mean, we have a lot of people guiding us.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. So to all of the people watching the live cast right now, thank you very much. Just want to stay on for a few minutes. If you have any questions, put them into the chat window. I see my friend Keith Hayes and Colette joining, and a bunch of people who know Brittany and Chase joining as well. If you have any questions, let us know now. You know, again, this was very outside my mission focus.
And we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. Honestly, it means a lot to us.
It's been a pleasure and honor. Like I said, when I first walked in, he came up to me like he knew me all his life, and you know, we're opening up, setting all this.
You saw how bored he got of you real quick.
Well, that's normal. Trust me, my kids get bored of me too.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Nothing's changed there, but it was just so great. It was just so great to see his face light up, and you know, he's so inquisitive and really, really just an amazing kid. It just made sense. And I'm so happy that Colette, that you got in touch with me about this. And yeah, it's not my normal wheelhouse. It's not my normal thing, but I really look at it as, you know, people fight battles every day. You have a campaign, and unfortunately, the reality is we know how this is going to end. Mm-hmm. And so I think what I want people to get out of this is you're still fighting to give the best possible life you can to your child. And that's what we as parents should do, right? But also, even for people who aren't parents, or people who are seeing a kid out there go through some challenges it's not theirs, I think we all have a duty and responsibility to help that family and child out. And I'm so happy to see and hear how Whitman, Hanson, Brockton, Abington have come together and said, you know what, hey, we're drawing a line in the sand right here. Mm-hmm. It's got to make you guys feel good.
It does.
Definitely. It does. We live in a great community, and we're very fortunate for that.
So Teresa H. Martin, we're getting some questions now. Thank you very much. Teresa is asking, what's his favorite thing to do with his friends? Thank you, Teresa.
What is his
I would say either playing video games or eating any kind of food.
No, he's
a big fan of food.
I know that he loves being a part of Cub Scouts and doing the things that the boys do there. I remember them doing their whittling trip last year, and poor Rob had to tell him to kind of stop carving it so close to his leg or his knee before he slices it open. But like, he just loves being with the boys, and it could be baseball, it could be Cub Scouts, it could be video games. He just loves being with them.
So is he liking the Red Sox right now?
He's more of a Patriots guy.
He's a football guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He thinks Red Sox are too boring, but I think he gets it from not that they're bad. It's a long game.
I'm spelled Scouts. Sorry, guys. Keith Hayes puts in there that for everybody, you can check out the Jet Foundation. Very cool. So he's a big Pats fan. Yeah. Pats won today, right?
Yes, they did. Barely.
Barely against the Bears.
Bears went for a Hail Mary and lost it by 1 yard.
Jack Glenn. Oh, we got another question.
Oh, yeah.
This is great. Jack Glenn says, how did he get such amazing parents?
I mean, look at us, Jack.
Look at the camera and say, Jack. Hello, Jack.
Jack,
We appreciate your kind words, Jack. Thank you.
No, he is. Jack is actually very good to chase. He represents the MDA in our community. He's an Abington captain on the fire department, and I love him. He has helped our family and the MDA, and has made Chase feel every part, every piece of him just loves Chase, and I'm so grateful for him.
Awesome. Do we have any others coming in? Let's see here. Laura Richardson's Payne says, I will get him to the World Series. I have no doubt. I have a feeling, Donnie, that when Brittany wants to put her mind to something, you kind of just got to get out of the way, right?
Yeah, that's usually how it works. I know my place. I stand back and let her do her thing.
But he's there to support you. He obviously loves you. Now, he's your fiance, right?
Yes.
Wedding bells are, yeah.
Yeah.
You're saddling
I
up
just
for a.
really wanted the ring.
Oh,
True. No, we
That was
we had
actually-
gotten engaged, and then everything happened from there, and so it's kind of taken a back seat to everything we have going on now. You know.
Right. He was diagnosed shortly after we got engaged, and once things happened, medical stuff piles up, life piles up, his special needs pile up. So wedding bells are kind of not something that we can take a look at right now.
well, before I get to this next question, I mean, isn't that true love though? I mean, sometimes I get a little cynical thinking that true love's just this myth, but I mean, isn't what you guys have true love?
He's just suck.
I would
Yeah.
say so. I
Yes.
would. Yeah, like I said,
Give
we
the
have
guy
our
some credit now. Come on now.
we have our moments where we
Yeah.
butt heads, but for the most part, I mean, we're a great team, and I think we make up for what the other person lacks, you know, and so together we're pretty much unstoppable, I would say.
Yeah.
So Brian Payne, I wonder who that is,
Oh, good Lord.
says, who is his favorite grandparent?
My mother, she passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's
And no, she didn't. He always talks about her.
no, I mean, it's
And then probably my great grandmother, and then my dad, who made
Sorry,
that.
Brian, you're third place, pal.
Don't
I don't know
forget
what to
about
say.
rah rah.
Oh, and rah rah, yep.
So Michael Chorjewski.
Oh, that's
that's Joe.
his son Joey has Duchenne's, and they're out of Marshfield.